Hi, welcome to a Barmy Army podcast number 34. Tonight I'm joined by Fiona and Ian. Evening both. How are you doing firstly? Both okay?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. Tonight we're going to be talking about the game from Sunday and also looking forward to the game on Saturday against City. You were both in the watch along, so there's plenty we can talk about within the game. So shall we start around 1:30 when the team news dropped, possibly? It came a bit of a surprise at the beginning that Alicia Russo wasn't in the starting 11. And then we found out it was a bit of a serious injury. But before you knew about the injury, were you surprised that she wasn't in the starting lineup, Fiona?
Not really, because she'd had the injury that caused her to pull out of England camp. So I did think maybe Casey would be a bit cautious with her. Bring her on as a substitute, 60th minute or whatever, when the defenders are tired. But I did think she would go with press over her.
Yeah, I understand your logic. First of all, evening Debs, evening Tashi. Ian, before obviously we heard about the injury to Alessia, were you surprised? Now, on a personal note, I need to know this because we were against each other in league lineup. I had Alessia starting. Did you?
I think I did as well.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think I had her starting. Yeah.
Okay. Were you surprised? Obviously, before we heard about the injury, that she wasn't starting.
It wasn't surprising as such because, as Fiona said, she did have the injury in England, but from what I understood, it wasn't serious. But with the games we've got to come, you could just be in case saying, "Look, better safe than sorry." So when she wasn't in the line, I'll be surprised. I wasn't surprised she didn't start, but I was surprised she was on the bench. So when she wasn't on the bench, something else rang saying there's something else wrong here. She's not even made the bench. And obviously then it was about 5 minutes later we found out that she's undergoing hamstring surgery, which she had today, I believe.
Okay.
Looking at her Instagram. So yeah, it was surprising she didn't feature at all in the matchday squad.
Evening Torrin, evening John, evening Max, evening Taz. So obviously then we found out about the injury. As you said, Ian, it's a tear of the hamstring. You said she's having surgery on it today, you said. And then came the other surprise. Leah again at left back. Ian, you are a big Leah fan. There's no denying that. We all know it. Thoughts when you saw Leah at left back?
Again, I was surprised. I know Casey said after the Spurs game that there will be times that she wants to get both Tobin and Leah into the squad or into the team. And the way to do that is obviously play Tobin on the left up front in the three, and play Leah at left back or a left wing back. But I didn't think that would work against an Arsenal side. Something like an Arsenal or a City or a Chelsea. I don't think you'd be as brave as to take out a left back and put in a left winger. It doesn't seem like that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me why you would do it. Yet after what happened on the other weekend, it worked. Leah was caught out of position a couple of times, but someone always was back there to cover for her. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a very similar lineup again this weekend.
Right, I'll come on to that in a second. Evening, Jonathan, as well. There's a couple of comments coming. Deborah said Russo being injured is a loss in terms of height in the attack, which we agree. John is still buzzing. as is Jonathan. The left back, Fiona, left back, is that now our problem position? Do you see it as that problem position now? Because I'm not gonna say Lotta should have started. That's not my decision to make. That's up to Casey. But do you think there's maybe a trust issue there, or was it purely tactical that Lotta didn't start?
It's a weird one. I think there is a bit of like the lack of trust. You know, we gave her a chance against West Ham, and she did okay, but I think she was caught out of position a few times, and maybe Casey was concerned about that. I think also, like Iain said, you want Leah in your team, and if we do our game plan, that would have given Leah opportunities to go forward still, and that adds to our game. And there was also, if you look at the bench on Sunday, there was no Kirsty Smith. You know, she can play left back or right back, and Honor could have played left back. You know, but I think we are severely lacking depth in defence, and I think that is mainly impacting left back. Abby wasn't on the bench either, so you know it's a mixture of trying to force people into the 11, but also not having people for that position that were good enough for against Arsenal, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the team came out, so we had Leah at left back. We obviously didn't know about. We knew Alicia wasn't started. Then the club tweeted out that she's got a torn hamstring. Then there was no Abby Mack, no Kirsty Smith. So for a lot of people, Amy going into centre back wasn't an issue. Honor was starting her first. I think she was starting. She hasn't started the game since, I want to say, Brighton. I could be wrong in that. But she was playing in her preferred position of right back. We know she can play left back. So Iain, there's comments coming in from people saying John Fry says, think Leah could become our left back permanently. Personally, I hope that's not the case, because I think we'll lose her attacking prowess. Were you, besides the Leah thing, were you confident with the rest of the team that was out, Iain?
Yeah, I was. You know, we know what the front six can do. You know, Hayley's been that the defensive midfielder. Is, you know, we know what she can do. We then had, obviously up top, we had Kristen along with Tobin and Kirsty. You know, the rest of the squad just picks itself at the moment, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So I had confidence in them. I didn't know if we would be able to get the results. You know, I was nervous because it was kind of, you know, I felt like the Chelsea game. We went into the Chelsea game. Obviously, we had no visibility on what the team were like, obviously, because pre-season games, you know, we didn't see anything of them. So, but going into the Arsenal game, the way Arsenal have been playing, you know, they've been scoring goals for fun. But this was outside of the City game in the FA Cup. This was their first big game of the season in the league. You know, they've not played Chelsea yet in the league. They've not played City yet in the league. But after maybe the first 30, I think, you know, it was a bit cagey in the first, 10, 15 minutes was a bit cagey. Arsenal had about 5 minutes of good spell of possession in that first half. But then after that, we hardly saw anything of Arsenal at all. So I felt a lot better after that. But going into the game, I was nervous. I don't get you wrong, because, you know, I'm always nervous against a big time. I just felt I didn't want to see the girls get battered the way Arsenal have been playing. That was my one concern. An early mistake or something, conceding early, and anything could have happened. So I was a bit, but I was really proud of them. So proud of them.
Yeah. In the comments, Deborah's saying for Saturday's game, Tobin on the right against City, Lear on the left, press up front. We'll talk a bit about that more in a bit later on. Jonathan, he says, Millie's best game this season. Amy Turner was immense, just stunning performance from her. Jackie ruled that midfield battle, even with Arsenal's attempt at intimidation. Again, yeah, I agree. John Fry, he agrees. Anyone else? We'll carry on. So we were set. We were good to go. And Jake, who I don't know whether he's watching yet, he came out with a stat that Arsenal have only failed to score in one of the 43 last WSL games. One. So Jake already came into the watch along like, oh, well, they're going to score. We have to outscore them, which Deborah always says now is the ethos of that team now that we have is if they score 4, we're going to score 5. So we were set up to score goals. And as you said, Ian, quite rightly so, they had a spell of 10, 15 minutes, but they didn't really put us under much pressure. Fiona, were you impressed with Arsenal at all? Or were you just thinking they're slowly going through the gears?
I think we nullified their threat. We pressed them when they tried to play at the back. We pressed them. And we won that midfield battle, like people have said. So I don't think it was necessarily that they were playing poorly, but Casey got her tactics right. She knew how to play against them, how to nullify their threat, and to get the best out of our team, and it worked. She said in her pre-match interview, we're gonna win the possession. That's what we want to have. We want to have the ball, and then they won't score. So it didn't give them a chance to get the ball to Miedema to have a shot because she is their main goal scorer. But like our defense were on it as well. So anything that came close to her, Amy T or Millie, they were stepping out and getting the ball before it got to her. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was poor Arsenal. I think it was definitely a case of much better United in comparison. So yeah.
John Fry is asking a question to all of us. Do we think we would have done better with Abby instead of Amy? He doesn't think so. My answer to that, John, very simply, is that I love Amy Turner. She's a proper defender. So for me, I would like Amy and Millie starting probably more than they do. So for me, the answer is I prefer Turner and Turner. Fiona, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Amy worked better. She seemed a stronger defender, but also she seems calmer. She might, as Nat said in the comments, there's always a risk of a penalty with Amy, but I think she seemed calmer on the ball and calmer defending, whereas I think Abby Mac might seem to sometimes panic.
Yeah, looking at the comments, the one point that a lot of them are making is that Amy's head and shoulders our best centre back, but her past injuries do limit her, which we've always said. But John makes the other John makes a very good point. He thinks Millie plays better next to Amy too. Ian, what do you think? Because I know you like Amy T and Millie, so we're not playing favourites here tonight, ref.
No, we're not. And do you know what? Amy is the women's equivalent of a Vidic, in my opinion.
It's in the comments. Funnily enough, someone's put that in the comments.
It
is.
She is a proper centre back. Yeah, she will give away a penalty every now and then. We've seen her do it. She probably will give a chance of an own goal. Seen that as well.
Yeah.
But I just feel more comfortable with those two. I don't know why. I just feel, I don't think we've seen the best of Abby Mack since she joined the club, if I'm honest. She made a few mistakes last season, but everybody makes mistakes. But it's how you bounce back from those mistakes. And it always seems to me that Amy always has confidence in her game, where sometimes Abby seems to be a little bit more nervous. And obviously, nervousness in the back isn't what you want. And, Amy had Vivian Miedemar in her pocket for 90 minutes. We hardly saw her. We hardly. She had a shot on goal, I think. So if I was to pick a starting centre back pairing for this weekend, it would be Amy and Millie.
Now, I've done my little bit of research and my stats. You know I like my stats. I'm not as obsessed with stats as certain people. Mary only made one save during the game. One save. And do you know who that save was from? Amy Turner. So, even though I kind of recollect it, it was in the second half.
She made a save from Beth Mead.
No, not really.
That was going wide.
That was going wide. Fiona and I will agree on this one. He made one save in the whole game, and it was Amy
so
Turner.
So on target. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, yeah. I'm talking on target.
Right.
I've always said, and I know there's a lot of people out there. I've always said I like Amy and Millie together. People have said it in the comments. I think there's a confidence that they can play with. They know how each other plays. I think I also agree with you, Ian, that there's a lot of we haven't seen the best of Abby yet. She has really, really good games, and then she's quiet in games. So yeah, I probably would think I would probably start Amy and Millie on Saturday. Would you start them as well, Fiona?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But the first half, we had some good chances. Kristen Press should have probably scored one. I think there was a reflective. Yeah, you know what she was doing. But the first half kind of went away without incident. Then, at half time, a substitution was made. Kirsty Hansen comes off, and making her debut for the season was Jess. First of all, Fiona, how happy were you to see Jess back on a pitch?
Oh, it's great news. She's a player that loves the club. She'll give everything on the pitch, and it's kind of what you love to see as a fan. So It was great to have her back.
But she was playing on the right, which I know you're not happy about.
Yeah, no, it's not. She can play there. I'd rather she play up top, but she does a decent job there.
Ian, pleased to see Jess back.
Yeah, really pleased to see Jess back. We didn't get to see. We saw a fair bit of her last season, but Jess always plays with her heart on her sleeve. She will always give it 110%. There is never. I don't think I ever recall seeing Jess not play out of her skin. She loves the club, and she always wants to win. So it was brilliant to see her back. And she's, I think she's gained a bit of pace. Her run to set up Tooney's goal, I didn't expect her to go past that quick. I'll be brutally honest. I think she's gained a yard of pace.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's always been a criticism from some people playing her out of position, but I thought she played really well there because their left back didn't get us forward as much in my opinion, in the second half. The other thing we haven't talked about was seeing Honor back again. Were you both pleased to see her back?
Yeah, she is a different class. You know, Nat mentioned this all the way back, I think, in August, of how good she thought Honor would be. And it's rung true. It really has. You know, I know she's missed a couple of games through injury, but she was brilliant against Chelsea. She had a fine first half, I think it was, against Brighton. She was a bit quieter in the second, if I remember correctly. But there wasn't a lot, you know, and she had a really good game again on Sunday. So it's really good to see her back, and you know, I think she's going to be one for future. If we can keep hold of her and, you know, tie her up for longer, you know,
yeah,
she could be someone that is going to be very special, you know, along with LJ, who could be really special.
Just to put a few comments up on the screen, and actually I'll talk to Fiona about this one. The Kristen press where she turned on it in the 18-yard in the box. John says would have been goal of the season. You've obviously watched Kristen press quite a lot, and you can see her getting fitter, and as well as Tobin. I thought that was her. I mean, we've only seen cameos from them, really. I thought you could see them getting better and better as each minute went on. Were you upset she didn't score, or were you just looking at her overall performance at the weekend?
I think that's the one thing that hasn't quite clicked yet. You know, when she first came into the team, she wasn't necessarily match sharp. Her passing or her first touch wasn't great. That has now caught up to kind of the levels we expect. It's just that finishing. Now, some of it was, I think she had a good shot that was saved, like a good save from the keeper. There was a few more where you'd think, you know, if once she gets properly going, she fires that into like the top corner or out of the reach of the keeper. But I think she adds something. She adds a level of class to our team. You know, she was trying things that you wouldn't have expected anybody else to really try. When like trying to that one turn, you know, we wouldn't have expected some of our other strikers to have tried that. You know, she's there, she's getting confidence. And I think overall it was probably one of her best performances. Yeah, it just missed that final goal. But I was watching an interview with Casey earlier on, and she said Casey's learned from Kristen that, you know, we often complain we're not taking our chances, you know, whereas Kristen has said having those chances means you're closer to getting a goal. So I think she's added something mentally to the team as well. She's going to pass on that winning mentality, that desire to win. Obviously, all the players will have that desire, but she just brings it to another level. But yeah, just that final thing to click, and then, you know, she's going to be setting the WSL on fire.
Hopefully so. Let's just run through a few of the comments that have come in. Namrata says Jess might be better suited as a winger. Fast, looks to take on defenders and sends in crosses. She did that on Sunday. Jonathan says thought Jess was great, very direct and strong. John Fry, love Jess as a number 9, but at the moment she might have to be a winger. Shane, very eloquently, Jess Sigsworth is quite simply a machine. Jonathan also says Honor's first half performance was pivot with Amy and Jackie. Yeah, completely agree. John Fry says Honor's pace and positioning helps us a lot. Right, there's no way getting around it. Come on, ref. It's ref watch. Let's talk about it. Shane, you might just need to calm yourself down, because Ian's going to side with the ref, but then ultimately he'll change his mind and side with the rest of us. So in the 51st minute, was it, Fiona?
Yeah.
In the 51st minute, there was a tackle made on Leah Galton. At the time, in the watch along, there was obviously time delayed, but I think Iain, you were on pretty much the same time as Deborah and myself. At the time, as an ex-ref, you said yellow. You obviously agreed with your fellow professional, your fellow referee. In the watch along, I think everyone pretty much said red. So, do you want to talk us through the logic of why you said yellow while all these tackles come in?
Well, the first thing you've got to think of is just trying to think of when the challenge is made. Obviously, the referee gets one look and one look only, and you've got to adjudge it on: is the tackle endangering a safety opponent? Is it reckless, or is it reckless? Is it careless, or is it with excessive force? You could say that it wasn't careless. It was definitely above careless. Was it made with excessive force? No. Was it reckless? Yes. So that puts it into the yellow card bracket to begin with. Then you need to see was there endangering the safety of an opponent? So you can still, you can still be reckless, but endangering you're not like you're charging in at it. It was a genuine attempt at the ball, but how you got to it or how the ended up is you've endangered the safety of the player. Has she endangered the safety of Leah Galton? Was she high? Was she showing studs? If we're honest, she's not that late. She's very close to the ball. So in real times looking at it, I said yellow. And that's why, because she's very close to getting the ball. She's only looking at the ball. She's not looking at Leah. She's not going after Leah. But you could say on the red card side of things, she has actually left the ground. When the challenge is made, she is both feet off the ground, but she's not leading with both feet. She's only leading with 1 foot, but the studs are down. So that is why it was a yellow card for me at the time. When I looked at it real time, I thought that's yellow. She wasn't far away. So, but as I said, I've gone back and looked at it again a few more times. And
here it comes, folks. Here it comes. He's gonna say it's a red now.
You could well argue for it to be a red card, and I wouldn't have disagreed with it at the time either. This is what I said at the time during our watch long. This is the orange card moment.
Right.
Does she deserve to miss the rest of the game because of that challenge? No. Does she deserve 10 minutes in a bin? Yes. This in the grassroots game, this would be a yellow card, 10 minutes in the bin. It wouldn't be a.
We don't have a sin bin in football. It's either yellow or red. It can't be anything in between. Right. Okay. So before I come to Fiona on it, just a few comments, not to make any more biased. Red card, sending off, disgusting tackle, red.
It wasn't disgusting.
Worse than Walsh on when she was sent off last season.
Walsh was high and studs up. Wilburn Boy was not high and studs up.
Jonathan then says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I broke your leg. I only just missed the ball." It's a fair comment.
Yeah, but the leg might have been. You can't take the seriousness of the injury into consideration in the challenge.
No, ref's opinion needs to be in the bin with his applesauce. Shane then goes, "Does she deserve to miss the rest of the game because of that challenge?" Yes. Orange card is to football what applesauce is to existence. I'm not actually finding a lot wrong with that logic there, to be fair. Probably not given a card because he's young.
No, fun enough, that is one of the things I heard. I think it was on the Offside Rule podcast I was listening to earlier today. I think it was the Offside Rule. that they don't. It could have been Two Girls Talk Ball. I can't remember. It was one of the two because that's what I listened to on the way back home earlier. They thought the reason why she didn't get a yellow is because she is young.
Okay. So,
but that should not ever go into a referee's decision. It's the challenge. It doesn't matter who it is, who it's against. It's the challenge, and you do not take into consideration anything out to do with is the player a child, is she, who it is. That has no standing. It shouldn't have any standing in the referee's decision making. Okay, certain players at Liverpool who have a habit of diving and have a habit of biting, you might have conditions on going into a game, but you shouldn't ever go into a game like that. So I don't think an age of a player should ever come into a decision of a referee making.
Just before we go to Fiona, Iain, let me ask you a question that's been put in the comments. You going to argue?
If it was the other way around, what colour?
It'll be red. We all know it.
If that was Leah Galton on Women Boy, you would be asking for Leah to be sent off.
But that's the point. If that was a United player who did it, it'll be a red card.
I still think, as I said, I can come down on both views. I can agree. I can understand people's view of a red card, and I can agree with it. I could also come to the same agreement of the referee who got one look at it.
Just before, though, because just before we go on,
but she could have been sent off later on in the game.
The age thing doesn't apply for LJ. She was sent off.
She was sent off, indeed. Yeah, because that was Spurs last year, wasn't it? Yeah, Spurs last year. I'll say one thing about LJ is I think referees do not understand that LJ is a lot stronger than other players around her, and she gets unfairly penalised by officials because she is so much stronger. So it looks like she's pushing players off the ball when she's not. She's making a legitimate play on the ball, and she's just a hell of a lot stronger. And unfortunately, the official we got this weekend is one that blew up LJ every second of that game at West Ham last season. So expect more of the same.
So Fiona, first of all, I obviously know where you stood on it on Saturday. You were in the sensible party of it. You were in the red category. You've obviously had a look at it since. Have you changed your mind on it at all?
No, it's a red card because the way she goes in, for me, it's dangerous. You go in. Where else is Leah gonna go? It's obviously just a foul. She gave a yellow card, so that's better than some of the referees they've had this season that wouldn't have given a card at all. But he should have given a red. For me, it was dangerous. There was no need for that tackle to be made at that point either. It wasn't, a last ditch tackle to stop us scoring. So there just wasn't any need. If that was a United player making that tackle, we would be furious. Like, why are you making a stupid tackle like that, risking you being sent off? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter it shouldn't matter which team the player is playing for, what, like Iain said, their age, what the scoreline is, anything like that. It was a poor decision. I saw some people on Twitter were saying if they'd given it red to Leah, to the defender, it's because of how Leah fell and it made it look bad. I don't think it made it look bad. It was bad. I just don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, evening, Jake's alive, everyone. He's in the comments. He's here. He's fine. Jake,
thanks, Rob. I completely agree with Jake. I've got a free frame on my screen behind me here of the challenge literally as it happens. The foot is down. It is literally 2 or 3 centimeters off the ground. She's not going in dangerously. It's Leah hitting her foot, which has caused the injury. I don't think the challenge is in front of the ball. It's not behind the ball. It's a genuine attempt at the ball. It's not.
No one's saying it. I don't think any of us said it wasn't an actual attempt for the ball. What we're saying is that if she got the minutest touch of the ball, you've said, Ian, you said it was yellow at the time, but you've watched it since, and you can see the argument for making it.
I can see why some people want it to be red, but if I was still to be officiating that instant again, I would still only bring out yellow.
For me, it's because she like wiped her out as well. It's not just go with a foot. She like her whole body goes at Leah as well. So I think there are many elements of it.
So there is a few things. Jonathan says that Leah doesn't stay down for anything. She would get straight up.
That doesn't matter.
Napoli says you drunk, ref. Which
you're drunk.
Leah was in tears. She was crying, and we actually thought it was slightly more serious than it was. Namrata says, if Leah was Neymar, I should have rolled over a million times. That might have got the red. She might just have to roll from now on with it.
You know, though, if crowds have been in, I'll tell you this now, if the crowd had been in there, I'm saying this now, she probably does get sent off because the crowd have been on him. I can guarantee you all of us would have been on him. That would have changed the decision to red. I don't think Kira Walsh would get sent off last season if the crowd wasn't there.
Well, anyway, Lee Moore, he was on Twitter straight away, and he said straight away, that's a red in any game, in any level of football. I'm only going to leave it there. That's their opinion. John Neville, he says it's a worthy of a red card, that challenge. Deborah, off. Shane, are you dizzy, ref?
Yes.
Okay. Are you mad? Nat's now saying you're definitely drunk. And the one thing, actually, and Deborah's hit this one right here, can't believe you're not defending Leah. But what was interesting about it, Ian, from my point of view, was you explained it in a way that people might have understood. You're wrong, but they understood it. The point is that you were looking at it not as a fan, you were looking at it through your referee's eyes.
Yes.
And I get that, and I completely understand that. But from our point of view, and from any point, look, the incident on Saturday at the Everton game, the VAR incident, that wasn't the penalty that wasn't given for United, you said straight away that's a red, because we talked about it before we started the watch on. That's a red. But when Leah gets folded in half and she does a nice little tumble turn with tuck, that's not a red. Anyway, we'll move on because we spent far too long on that bit. I was only hoping that bit would be anyway. Then there comes a substitution for United that I think took a lot of us. Right, I was like, Casey took Hayley Ladd off.
Oh yeah.
And there was quite a few in deep breaths being taken in the group. At the time, were you surprised, Fiona?
A little bit, because of the defensive cover she provides. Would help Millie and Amy out. But she wasn't up to her best standards today. Some of her passing was poor. And I wonder if that kind of played onto Casey's mind. First of all, Katie does a decent job of passing, but bringing on some fresh legs in midfield, they were doing a lot of running, a lot of chasing balls down, that kind of thing. Maybe that played in her mind as well. I think quite a few of us were surprised that she didn't start with Hayley and Katie, but maybe this was why, to bring Katie on later on in the game. And it worked quite well. Her, Jackie, Ella, they were rotating around, running around, controlling that midfield still. So yeah, it was a bit of surprise, but it worked.
It did work. Namrata in the comments, she says Casey might have wanted to play Zelen to give her confidence back, that she does trust her in big games. The one thing for me, Ian, about the game on Sunday was when we had set pieces to make, they weren't great. Whereas when Zelly comes on, she's, I suppose people would say she's probably the best person at set pieces in some positions. She gets a lot of, so were you surprised Hayley went off as well and Katie came on? But the second part to that would be, would you have started Zelly?
I'd be honest with you, I would have. I think I had Zelen in my starting 11. It's very rare that Katie doesn't start. So it did surprise me she didn't start. It surprised me when she took Hayley off and brought Katie on. But Fiona was right. Hayley, I don't know if it was because of but her passing wasn't brilliant on Sunday. I was going to say our pass accuracy was only about 70% for the whole game, which, if we're honest, isn't that good. But I don't think Arsenal's was much better. So to bring her on, but the one thing at the time, I thought that was bold. It was a really bold move. But as the game wore on, Arsenal still wasn't creating anything, and it didn't look like we were missing a defensive midfielder. And Casey was brought on to push forward more and get shots away. With him coming on, she had about 2 or 3 shots on goal in the first few minutes. And the one thing we do know about Zinsberger and Arsenal's goal is she can be a bit flat-footed. And I think Katie coming on and taking shots was saying, look, get some shots on time. Arsenal's keeper, she's not great. She really isn't. And it goes to the goal. She was really flat-footed on Tooney's goal. Lots of people saying she should have kept that out. Personally, I don't think she would have done, even if she was on tippy toes ready to go, because it's gone in off the post. So very hard for a keeper to get down that low and that far to get to it. But no, you're right. Katie's good at certain set pieces. You give her a free kick around the edge of the D, she's really dangerous. I'm not a great fan of her corners because sometimes they don't clear the first man. And that's one thing that really frustrates me about corners. You've got to get it into that 6-yard box under the keeper or around the penalty spot. Not clearing the first defender is one of my annoyances in football. But obviously at the time, I think Tobin had come off as well by then. And she has been taking out corners, hasn't she? So, but I don't think we had anything corner-wise until the second half. I can't remember anything earlier on. But yeah, it was a bold move. But again, as we said this before, Casey got every single one of her tactical decisions right on Sunday. You can't fault her tactics at all. You can look at Arsenal and say, again, they have fallen to the press. They every time some team presses them, they don't come out well. PSG pressed them, beat them quite easily. Chelsea have pressed them, beat them quite easily. So it'd be really one game I'm really looking forward to on the game on Sunday is the Arsenal-Chelsea game to see what Arsenal change, because Chelsea, Emma Hayes will use exactly the same tactics against them on Sunday.
We'll go through a few of the comments. Jake talking about the substitution of Hayley Ladd. Another bold move from Casey. Hayley wasn't at her best, and it shows she believes in the squad. Not all about one player holding it together. Shane, I've been massively impressed with Casey's tactics and game management this season. Pretty much all the subs she has made have been spot on. Jonathan says Zelen is probably the best set piece taker in the league. Possibly. Deborah, Casey Stoney, tactical genius. John then says it just proves our subs are game changers. Yeah, true.
I was going to say, Casey, isn't it? Game changers. That's what Casey's calling them.
Yeah. Deborah then says, we're using the squad so much better this season. Chance for everyone, even Jane, when people are fit. Now, very quickly, have you paid Jake your money yet, ref?
Nope.
Okay, just checking. The intensity and energy was, John says, the intensity and energy was so high, so little time on the ball, I think affected a lot of people's passing. Yeah. And then into the last 15 minutes we go, and we score. Fiona, do you want to talk us through it? It was a brilliant ball. Jess made a brilliant run.
It all starts from our defence, doesn't it? Amy Turner made a great tackle. Got the ball, so it didn't go to Miedemar. He gives it to, was it Tooney, I think?
LJ.
Yeah.
LJ, who then passes it to Jess, where we know Jess is quick, but she really proved it, She kicked the ball 10 yards in front of her, and the defender was close to the ball, and she got there first. And that's the kind of, it showed the desire that she has. She will fight for this team, and again, why she's a fan favourite. She then, this wasn't her first time winning at the defender either. I think this was the second or third time. She went to the, in, out, which way am I going to go? Confuse the defender a bit. And then Tooney made some space for herself. She saw where the defender was running. Thought, actually, no, I'll wait just here. Jess passes it to her, and it wasn't the greatest shot by Tooney, but it goes right into the corner. I'm sure she would have wanted a bit of a better connection or a bit of pace on it, but into that corner. And it was a well-worked team goal. Quick, counter-attacking, stretching their defenders out when they're tired. I think we know we're going to counter-attack him. We did it well last season. We didn't do enough of it, and it's just another great team goal. And it did look at the time, are we going to miss? Have we wasted our chances? Are we going to regret this? And then the goal happens, and we all can admit Tooney wasn't having a great game, so we all thought, yeah, it's going to be the one. It's going to be Tooney that scored, and kind of and make us change some of our comments, maybe. But yeah, great goal.
It was a great goal. Just going through some of the comments. This one will make Jake happy. Stanley Forth added a lot of energy when she came on. Personally, I think she's played well when she's come on. We've not even talked about LJ coming on. Again, it's as if we expect it. Jake says, fingers crossed that a certain player can get a hat-trick this season against a former club. Jake, I'm pulling for her personally, as is Fiona. The only person who isn't is Ian.
Oh, no, I'll be the first one to congratulate Jane on a hat-trick this weekend if she gets one.
Deborah says that would make her an instant United legend.
Indeed.
So just to clear up, just before we carry on, this weekend in the watch-along, we asked the people in the watch-along for 4 players to be voted for man of the match. And at the time, I don't think anyone mentioned Amy because we were so used to her playing the way she did. Looking back at it now, because we had Jackie, Jess played herself into it for 45 for her performance in the 45 minutes. Who else do we have in it? Jackie.
And Tobin.
Okay. Looking back on it now, do you think we should have maybe put Amy in, or are we, like I said, are we just used to that performance?
It was just an Amy Turner performance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's what we come to expect of her. I know that means our expectations of her are going to be always up here, but I just thought the defence overall had a really solid game. So it was probably a bit harsh on Amy. If I was to swap anybody out, I'd probably swap Tobin out for for Amy. But funny enough, the Barclays Player of the Match awarded by the sponsors went to Jackie as well, and that's where 49.9% of our vote went to.
Well, as Shane says quite rightly, so it was difficult to narrow down to just the 4, and it was because there was lots of names flying around. Namrata says Amy played really well, but the ball very rarely got to our centre backs, and our midfield completely dominated the game. I agree. Jake's, I put it up before. Jake says Twitter needs more options on the poll. If we could have put 11 players up, we would have done, but we could only have the people in the watch along. They only chose those 4. So let's get on to this weekend. Manchester Derby, the first of the season, because we know we're going to have about 18 of them because we'll get stuck with them in all the cups again. For me, this is the biggest game of the season. I wasn't expecting any. I was expecting very little from the Arsenal game, but I am expecting something on Saturday. I am a Manc. I am a proud Manc. Beating City is the top of my list, be it in the men's, the under-23s, the under-18s, even if the under-60s play City. I want to beat them. Iain, we'll come to you in a sec. Fiona, is beating City as important to me, to you, as it is to like me as me? Or is it just another game?
No, it's definitely an important one. The players know how much it means to the fans. You know, they want to give it all. There's that. City haven't been performing at their best, so, you know, getting points at Arsenal and Chelsea might be bigger in that respect, but it's your local derby. You want to win it every time, and we have proven we can beat them in the cup. So now we want to prove we can do it in the league. You know, they've got some big players, but so have we, and we need to. It's a big month because we have got these big games back to back. So that also adds to it as well.
Ref, as an honorary Manc, because that's what you've got in your Twitter bio, you're an honorary Manc. Is beating City still important to you?
Yes.
Okay.
End of story. Has to be.
Okay. Fine.
The 2 games I always look for when the fixtures come out, Liverpool and City. They're the first 2 I look for. And I will always put the City game slightly above Liverpool. I only mean slightly. But yeah, unfortunately, that is actually technically true. I am.
Boo! This will be the last time everyone sees Iain on one of our podcasts for a while.
Yeah, my mum is an Evertonian. She was born in Aintree.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Evertonians are fine. We can handle Evertonians.
But no, yeah, the City game is always a game that I will have circled on the calendar. And any chance to put it to side foot, I will take. I really honestly think if we can get at them early, I think we could be in for I think we could get a few past them this weekend. I really do, if we can score early.
Okay. So let's just go through some of the comments. And this is a very good point. And actually, Shane was making it last Sunday. If we can beat City, we'll go 8 points ahead of City, which is a massive. It's massive. But then Shane then makes a point. If we owe City for that Abbey Mac goal, that never was. I can't go over that Abbey Mac goal because it was a goal. Agreement.
Yep.
Jake says all signs point to a good result. Our great form of City's poor start to the season, but we can't assume anything. They'll be hyped up for this game as much as any. And actually, that's the point that I was going to make. Form goes out the window in the derby. It doesn't make any use whatsoever. Deborah, the midfield battle will be crucial. She's only hoping that because Kira Walsh wants to get sent off again. And then, obviously, there's talking about Jake saying, how about an Abby Mack 93rd minute winner, Shane? I have to agree, Shane. 93 minutes, I can't handle that. Namrata, I'd leave the room. Namrata then says, if we win the City match, it will be the best tactical masterclass from Casey. Correct. End of story. In fact, that's it. Brilliant. Shane, Shane, I'll be on the. Shane says 93rd minute will be in bits. I think we all would be. Natalie then says we've got to stop Mewis, and we'll come on to very quickly. We'll come on to some players we've got to look out for, but it's a yes or a no question to you both. Does Jess start on Saturday after a 45-minute performance on Sunday? And looking by that sheer pain on his face, Iain, you can go first.
Do you know what?
I'll say no.
She could well do, yeah.
All right.
I feel for Kirsty Hansen. I really do. I love seeing Kirsty play, but unfortunately, that first half last weekend she was really quiet. Didn't see a lot of her. And what we did see of her, unfortunately, she always seemed to, the Arsenal defenders always managed to get back and block whatever she was trying to do. But we know what Kirsty can do down the right as well. Not quite sure who. I'm guessing Alex won't be at left back. I'm guessing she will probably play centre back again. So, I would love to see. If Alex was at left back, I would love to see her on a bit of toast, but it's not going to happen. I think she'll be at centre back. But yeah, starting Jess. Yeah, I could get behind that definitely.
Okay, Fiona, yes or no? You start, Jess?
If she can last 60 minutes, yes.
Okay. Just going through a very few comments. Jonathan says he's never confident in a derby, and that's how he should be. I completely agree. Shane then makes a very, very good point. We beat City. It's 8 points clear of them. 7 points taken from the traditional top three, but we've played them all at home. And when we play them away, fans could be allowed in, but we're not sure whether it will be home fans or away fans. So it could be very different. John says Jess starts instead of Kirsty. And where was the other one? Keep Jess as an impact sub from Jonathan Ball. Namrata says, yeah, she'll be up against Stokes and Greenwood. Jess against Stokes and Greenwood. Oh, it's a battle for the eight. I can't wait to see that. Natalie says, shame no Russo, which we all agree with. So
we might not even see Russo back this season.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. So let's say Leah starts on Jess starts on the right. Are you keeping the back four as it was with Honor, Amy, Millie, Leah?
I would be concerned about Leah on the left because you're going to probably have Lucy Bronze coming up the other side.
Okay.
So if that's the case, I would want Honor up against her.
Okay.
I might switch Honor to left, but you still probably want to get Leah into that team somehow. So, okay. But she wouldn't be playing at right back. She might. The three in the middle might be three wide. Might be a bit wider than a bit narrower. I don't know, but my gut feeling is we need to put Honor at left back at the weekend because of the threat that will come down the City right.
Okay, so who starts right back? He's going to say Amy. He's going to say Amy and Abby. He's going to say Amy and Abby.
That's what we'll probably have to do. We'll probably have to put Amy out to right back and have Abby and Millie in the middle.
Okay, right. I think it'll be very remiss if we didn't mention City in a little bit. Are there any of their players that you're actually worried about them doing damage to us, Fiona?
Muse has been on good form, so you know she seems to be their leader. She's also like quite tall, so you know set pieces, that kind of thing need to be careful for. But nobody else really. Ellen White hasn't been in the best of form. Lucy Bronze hasn't been like what we'd expect from her. So you know, I wouldn't be too concerned. And obviously, they've got a new manager this season, and it hasn't seemed to quite click yet. So I wouldn't be too concerned. I'm more concerned about some of the Irish accents we might get in the watch along.
Yeah, I've seen the comments flying in. Just very quickly, I'll put it up. Kathleen. Namrata says Amy to start at right back. Nat says Smudge. Torren says she would love to see Heath and Press batter that City defence. I think we all would. There's no lying about that. So as this will be the last question before we call it a night. 3 points, Iain. So United.
Optimistic, yes.
Fiona.
100%, yeah.
Oh, look at the confidence. There was no thought there, Iain. It was straight. Yes. You went maybe. All right, then yes. And just very quickly from Namrata, Gareth Taylor has 0 tactics. The one thing that I would say is if Jess does start and it is Alex at left back, at centre back, you want Jess on Alex every single time. And John John's put an easily 3-0 win. I'll take that right now, John. None of this 93rd minute stuff.
I want it over well before then.
Yeah. 93rd minute, finish the hat trick maybe, but that's
that's even better. On that note, we're going to call it a night. Thanks for everyone who's joined in. I'll be back next week talking about the City game and also the next City game on the Thursday night. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.